What's good? Good afternoon. Almost afternoon. How y'all doing? Episode 21. These things are piling up. Chill for a minute. Wait for the young homie to hop on. Okay. Well, shit. Let's just do that, man. Me and Caesar up in here. Let me see where this dude's at, man. Just hit him. I would assume he gonna get on. Oh, there he is. All right. Let me go ahead and get started then. Welcome to episode 21 of Chop 15 with Jay Walker. Good afternoon. I hope everybody's in good spirits and good health right now. I'm going to go ahead and bring my guest on. Young homie, man. Very talented dude. He's a gatherer of people. He is a dope MC, dope producer. And he's actually a little bit of family of mine, like for real. People don't even know. It's some crazy shit. But it's my boy Niles Quinn, so I'm going to bring him in.
Yeah, what's going on?
What's good, bro? How you doing?
Good, man. Shit, I don't mean to be rude. I'm just finishing up this thing I was smoking right here.
Oh, you ain't rude. Nah, it's cool. That's how we do
Okay.
around here.
Let me see. My shit look a little dark. Let me see if I can readjust it. There we go. All right.
Oh, good, man. So
Shit,
how
how
you
you
been,
been
bro? I
living,
ain't
man?
seen you in a minute.
Yeah, I know I've been pretty low key, especially with everything that's been going on. But even before that, I was a little low key.
I feel you.
I've just been working a lot, man. I've been working with a lot of different people, helping them, record and mix their projects. But been staying low key, working on a bunch of stuff with Enigma Beats. We're working on a
Okay.
tape, and I got a little solo tape in the works as well. So I just been in the
Nice.
lab,
Okay.
man.
Yeah. So how has life been different for you in this situation, like work wise and
Not
stuff like that?
not
How's it
not
been
very
different?
different at all. For me, it hasn't been much different at all.
Because you in the
I
lab a
actually,
lot. That's why.
yeah, I just mainly spend a lot of time recording people, and for when the first wave hit, I kind of didn't have anyone coming over, but now I've been having people come back over. So it was kind of a good thing for me. It was kind of gave me a breath of fresh air to just focus on myself a little bit. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So,
How do you feel
but
about
I
having
did.
people at your house in the lab?
I'm being kind of exclusive about it, but I have homies that I still have coming over, so I'm not. I mean, I'm working now again. I'm serving tea tonight,
Okay. Okay. I feel you. Yeah.
so
I'm about
I
to go out
just started
later.
working
Work
again
too.
last week. Yeah, I work tonight from 6 to like midnight or something. So that was like my 1 day a week thing, and I just started doing that again. So shit's kind of like back on normal for me.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you, man. But
What about you,
well,
man?
shit. Besides that deal and everything, shit. Me, I just been over here, pretty much the same thing, man. Like it hasn't changed too much. My stuff that I did outside the studio, like field audio and stuff for like my video homie. We haven't been
Yeah.
doing much of that, but it's starting to pick up again. Like I've been working the last couple of days, so
Okay.
just like it was starting to pick up
Just
again.
started
I'm
picking
trying to
up. Yeah.
decide when I want to open up the lab. So
Yeah,
just
man.
figuring it out.
I've been looking forward to coming over and checking it out.
Oh,
It looks like you
definitely,
got a
man.
nice space set up there. I've been peeping it online and shit.
Oh man, I love
Yeah.
it, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's been the best place to be locked down if I got to be locked down. So I'm
Yeah.
not too mad about
I
it.
feel
You
that.
know. But besides this shit going on, what I'm saying that we've been dealing with the last 3 months, and then now we got this whole
Yeah.
other layer of shit
Yeah.
on top of that.
It's been a hectic couple weeks, man. I'm happy to see people finally responding. And at first I was really upset, and I had said a couple things, and then everybody kind of like started supporting the movement, and I was like, wow, I think it's like the last straw on the camel's back, because this is just one of many incidents that's been happening. And
Exactly.
honestly, it's a lot better now than it was 50 years ago and leading up to that, but it's still nowhere near where it needs to be, man. And we just seeing it
Exactly.
now is all it is. You know what I mean? So
True.
I'm glad people is recognizing. You know what I mean? Even out here in Reno, I went out there on Sunday. There was quite a bit of people out there. So I'm glad to see
Yeah,
Reno
yeah, I
supporting the
have seen
movement
that.
too.
It's been a lot of support, a lot of support from people. Some people that I wouldn't even expect. And
Yeah.
then others that you would expect, and they're kind of silent. But I mean, to
What's
each his
good,
own.
Blue?
I mean, you want to be on the right side of history. You might want to speak up and do what's right.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, hey, my homie Just Blue hopped in here. Me and him been kind of like trying to push like these kind of trains of thoughts and people subtly for a long time. We've been recognizing the importance of this and trying to express it through the music. And I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of times it kind of turned off people. Like they didn't want to hear people getting serious. You know what I mean? They didn't want to hear us talking about impeach the president. They didn't want to hear us talking about racial issues, social injustice issues, pollution. But now people are starting to listen. You know what I mean? So it's kind of good. It's like,
Yeah,
wow, people are starting to appreciate that subject matter because they're feeling it now. They're feeling the impact of all the shit that's been accumulating. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
yeah. It also boils. I think it also boils down a little bit to people being at home and they had to see it. You couldn't run from this one. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of times that
Yeah, I
shit
think
happens.
that's a good
It
point.
could be on TV, but you got your life going on and you don't see the shit. But like, we've been at home, shit been closed, so people have seen this. You know what I'm saying? And I think finally the people that have, maybe they glanced and just lived life, they actually seen that shit. And some people are affected by it, and they're
I
talking
think
and they're
you're really
speaking
right
out.
about that. It's everybody getting out of the rat race for a second. They were working their 9 to 5s, caught up in it. They had a second to sit at home. I didn't really think about that,
Hmm.
but you're right. I really think that's what it is too.
And just being frustrated with that whole shit too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
so
the
it's
the scariest thing for me is like they're trying to really fight back. Like even before the George Floyd incident, they already tried to put a curfew in effect for the COVID thing. Even in California, it was big. Everyone was on the curfew, right?
yeah,
And now the people are protesting. They're going hard on the curfew. So like they're just looking for.
yeah.
It's to me, it seemed like they're just looking for a reason to put a curfew in. I mean, you
Seems
you
like
was
it.
just living in Antioch. You know the curfew out there is 6 p.m. right now. I was just talking to my boy. He's
I know
driving.
why, because it's crazy. But that's yeah.
They know because they know who
I
lives
didn't know
there.
it was
They know
six
who
though.
lives in Antioch, so they fucking with him. And my homie, I was talking to him. He was like 4:30. He's like, man, I'm trying to get to the grocery store and get home before 6, so I have food for my kid. Because after 6 p.m., they pulling people over, pulling guns out on them and shit. I'm like, man, 6 p.m.
Man, and you know
And I feel
what
like they
though?
really
That don't
protesting in
surprise me
Oakland
out
and
there
San
at all.
Francisco. They ain't even really out there in Antioch like they are out in the other cities, but they just fucking with them in Antioch because they know.
Yeah, yeah. That's not surprising. That's not
So
surprising at all.
I think that's
Makes me glad
something we
they
need
got the
to bring
fucking
to
better
attention
themselves.
is like, yeah, we can't let them take our rights away. Like they can't just put a curfew like that, man, for nothing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That's why a
I'm
lot
not
of
okay
people in
with
the
that.
city like I listened to like a city council meeting last week, and they made them basically abolish the curfew because everybody kept speaking like this shit
Yeah,
ain't
yeah.
right, shit's fair. You know what I'm saying? It ain't fair. How you got a curfew now? Da 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 da. And they put so much pressure on them that
Yep.
they had to lift it.
So
That's what
it's
I'm
up to
saying.
us
It's the
to
shit
put
we
that
got to do.
pressure
We
and to
just got to
talk
keep
about these
pressure on
things.
their neck, man.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But we just got to
No, it's
keep
good.
pressure on them, man, to where like they can't not hear us as long as
Yeah.
you do it in the right way. And they can't not hear us. They gotta accommodate us. They have to.
We gotta be to the point where law enforcement is fearful to act the way they act because they know there's gonna be repercussions. The only reason they do it is because they've been getting away with shit for too damn long.
There it is. There
So
it is.
if they
Exactly.
know there's gonna be a repercussion, then they're gonna have to think twice before they do some stupid shit, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. They need to be
So,
held more accountable for sure on that shit because, yeah, because if you look at everything else and you know, well, man, shit, if I kill a motherfucker, I mean, I ain't really gonna get in trouble. They just gonna send me home with pay.
and man, that's like I said, man, it's probably a lot better now than it has been, and we just barely seeing it. That's all it is. Like,
Mm.
man, we know how bad it was in LA and everyone knows about Rodney King, but if that person didn't have that one camcorder, like that's one incident. Like how many didn't get on the camcorder? You feel me? Now everyone's
A
got a camera on their
million.
phone. It's a good thing, but it's just
No, yeah, I was thinking about that recently too. Like, man, if that one person wasn't on their balcony with a camcorder back in
I'm
like
saying.
1990 when like nobody had camcorders.
Yeah, I'm saying. It's like hella incidents that probably just no one ever even knows about. It's fucked up.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So that's what kills me when people are like, oh, we're just seeing, these are just a couple of bad apples or whatever. It's like, nah. Imagine how many things you haven't seen.
they got body
Like,
cams now
imagine
and
that.
shit. They didn't have that before. Like, you know what I mean? And they trying to
Yeah,
cover their body cams and shit now. Fuck, what the hell's going on with that? You notice that?
exactly. Yeah, because
So,
they know. They know.
yeah,
If not seen, they can do what they want.
exactly. So we
It's
just got to
fucked
keep
up,
eyes
man.
on
But
them, keep the pressure on them. Man, I went out there on
exactly.
Sunday. They had all these dudes on the rooftops, snipers already. I'm like, you realize it's a peace visual, right? They had all these dudes standing there with guns and shit. I'm like, man, you guys are the
Yeah, I've seen that
perpetrators,
too.
man. Y'all are the ones trying to start shit, but it's all good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Over time, people are just going to start seeing that. They're like, man, these guys are just coming out here to speak and just say some real shit. Like, they're not here to start no drama. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Well, shit, man. I want to talk to you about, what I'm saying, about you personally, as well during this, dude. I definitely appreciate hearing your thoughts, man. I've been lucky enough to be able to do this and get to talk to a bunch of people of different backgrounds and see and feel their thoughts. And it's been really dope to hear everybody express how they feel. Because I know how I feel, but it's very good to hear everybody else and how they feel.
yeah,
So, you know what I'm
most
saying?
definitely.
So you're originally from the Bay Area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where originally?
All over, man. I lived all over. I'm originally from San Jose.
Okay.
I moved there probably when I was like 7 or something. And it was just starting when it was getting real expensive, you know. I was living over there in the east side, and they started like prices started going up. Moved to Brentwood. I went to school in Antioch, did my elementary and everything out there.
Yeah, okay.
And then my parents split up. So I lived all over. My dad lived in Stockton for a couple years out there in Weston Ranch, and then he moved to Vallejo, and my mom stayed out there in the East Bay. So I kind of just went back and forth from Vallejo. I went to high school in Brentwood. You know what I'm saying? Liberty
Mm-hmm.
High. So
Crazy.
yeah. I lived everywhere but like Oakland and San Francisco, man, all around there, around the outskirts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Reno?
So it's interesting. So I finished my last year of high school out here in Nevada. South Reno Smith was like kind of in the middle of nowhere. Just kind of finished my school out there. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into. You feel me? But I didn't go to like
Yeah.
the first half of my senior year, and then I finished it up like halfway online, and then I took some classes, and I was staying with my grandpa in the middle of fucking nowhere. And then that was like 2010. I came to UNR, and I lived in Reno for like maybe 2-3 years. So I lived out here before, but then I moved back to the Bay. I was living in Benicia, Vallejo, and then I had like a big car accident. I hit a cow.
Oh
And I
shit.
went to go stay at my mom's for a little bit, and then I just ended up moving back to Reno because at that point it was the most affordable option. So I've been back in Reno now for 2 years. Uh huh.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been back in Reno for 2 years. But like I said, I lived here for like 2, 3 years back in the day. It was a different world back then. Reno was a different
Yeah.
place. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely changed, man. Like I've only lived here myself. This will be year 6, but I've lived
Okay.
here 3 different times in three
Right.
different
Right.
decades.
Okay. Okay.
so
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 it
like
up. Yeah.
I've seen Reno like transition and change, and I've always come back the entire time. So like these last 25, 26 years I've been around here, I've seen like, it's crazy, like
Amazing
the
shift.
transition and change, but the change in the people is what's surprising me, because there's a lot more people that are standing up for rights for people that look like us, where when I first got here there was maybe like that many.
Yeah, well, interesting facts. 'Cause I was looking up the census records, and like, there's over 500,000 people in this greater Reno, Nevada area, Sparks and all that. So
Hmm.
I went and looked back. I was like, what was it in 2010 when I first came out to Reno? And I was like, oh shit, it was only just like 330,000 or something like that, you know? So it's pretty much doubled in the past decade, which means
Yeah.
like almost half the people have moved here in the past decade, so they ain't from here. And
Yeah.
especially younger people, when you go out to the bar, it's like the majority of people you meet aren't really born and raised here, or at least half of
Yeah.
them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a split between a lot of younger people that moved here and a lot of the older people that have been out here for maybe a generation or two or a couple generations. Cause I mean, it really only goes back like 3 generations out here, to be honest. If you think
Yeah.
about it, maybe
Yeah, a
4.
lot of people for
When,
sure.
when they first came here, like was like the mid 1800s or some shit. Like it's not really too long ago,
No, no,
you know?
that's definitely true.
So,
So, when'd you get your start in music?
um, I mean, I've always been kind of musical because both my parents did music. Like my mom, she was a singer in a band, a cover band around the Bay Area, and my dad was a DJ. And
Okay.
I always had like that kind of thing going on. My dad had me scratching records and stuff when I was really little, and my mom would have me
Dope.
singing and shit like that. But I never really started like actually pursuing music until like maybe about 16. I started writing
Okay.
lyrics. Yeah, I was just rapping on like other instrumentals, J Dilla beats, whatever I could find, you know. And
Right. Everybody goes through that phase.
yeah, it was mostly some depressing ass shit, man. It was like if I were to go back and find those papers, I probably wouldn't want no one to hear it. It was really depressing. There's a lot of anger and depression, and I was just getting it
That's
out. You know
growth
what I
though.
mean? It was like, yeah. So I was just kind of going through that, and it wasn't like me trying to be like, oh, I'm gonna be a rapper or nothing. It was like literally like that's how I got it out, you know.
Right.
And once people like some of my homies started hearing me, because I mainly would freestyle. I didn't really like spit a lot of like written shit, but I would freestyle a lot, and people knew me for that. Especially at UNR, when I was like 18, I would be sitting out, like, just give me topics, like keep feeding me words, keep feeding me topics. I'll just go off that, you know.
Nice.
And that's how I met my homie Blue. That made the majority of the music I've made and put out has been with Verbal T, and it's with my homie Blue who
Mhm.
jumped in here. I
Okay.
met him by battling him. So yeah, I
That's funny. I
basically
met one
started
of my best
writing.
friends the same way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But after that, it was respect. You know what I mean? And we started kicking it, and we lived in the dorms together and shit. And that was my homie. I lived when I was living in Reno. I lived with him, and I lived out for a couple years. And then we went different ways. He went to Vegas. I went back to the Bay. Um, but yeah, so I started writing, and then after I met him, he introduced me to his homie Moose. And Moose is the first dude who kind of like showed me how you make a beat. You know what I'm saying? Like he had Fruity Loops. He was like, here you go, man. Here's a cracked version of Fruity Loops. Here's some drum kits. You know what I mean? And I was like, cool, cool. And I remember I made my first beat like on an airplane flight. I sampled
Nice.
that percussion or something. I don't remember what it was. Some shit. Anyway, yeah, if I hear it, I'll know. But I just kind of messed around, didn't take that serious. Computer crashed. Never made any good beats with that, and I didn't have a computer. And then I ended up copping an MPC, and that's when I really started making dope beats. I got a 2000 XL, and I figured that thing out,
Okay.
and that's when I started making some cool beats. But yeah, I didn't really start making beats till I was 18. I started writing when I was like 16. To answer your question, I guess I'm just kind of
No,
dabbling
it's
now
good.
about it.
I like
But
hearing
yeah,
hearing the whole process of it, how it starts and how it builds up to where you are. Um,
yeah,
you also teach people, like you do lessons, like audio
yeah.
lessons and stuff, like with recording and stuff like that.
I've been mainly teaching a lot of people how to use Ableton Live. It seems like a really popular software. I'd like to see more
Yeah.
people come and learn how to mix from me. Not a lot of people seem to be interested in taking mix lessons, but I end up just mixing a lot
Right.
of people's stuff for them. But I do offer mix lessons too. When I was in California right before I moved to Reno. I actually had a really good instructor, Piper Payne. She's a
Hmm.
really good mastering engineer, but she taught me how to mix, not master. I don't consider
Okay.
myself a master. I mean, I know how to master, I got some good mastering plugins, but that's not what my forte is, per se. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I like mixing in Pro Tools. It's just, I could do, you can do it it's all the same, Logic, Cubase, Ableton, it's just all the same,
Yeah.
but I just like Pro Tools. That's what I
Yeah.
learned on. Yeah. I'm not like one of those people that's oh, if it ain't Pro Tools, it ain't right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Snobbish
Yeah.
about that shit. I tell them I use Pro Tools. I'm like, what you use? And they're all scared to tell me. They're like, oh, I'm on Cubase. I'm like, oh yeah, that's dope, man. And they're like, oh, okay, it's cool. Like, you know what I mean? There's like some stigma
Yeah. I
about it.
mean,
Like some people have like a hierarchy. They're like, oh, I'm on Pro Tools. You guys are on some bullshit software. And I'm like, no, it's all the same, man.
that's just engineer snobs, man. When I went to
Yeah,
school and
it's
I
hella
learned
funny.
about that, man. It's like
It's so
engineer
funny.
snobs. Like Pro Tools is cool. I used Pro Tools all through school and shit, but as soon as it didn't work on my computer no more, I went right back to Logic. And ain't no big deal.
There you go. I feel like Logic is the best for your money. They have like the best stock
Oh, for the
plugins I've
price,
ever
hell yeah.
seen.
For the
They
price,
got like
yeah,
nice.
you can't beat it.
They come with like 5 different compressors that have different qualities that are all nice and like all kinds of great plugins. I mean, fuck Pro Tools.
Yeah,
I don't even use
stock
the
shit.
stock compressor on there. I don't even use the stock plugins on Pro Tools. Maybe the EQ. That's about it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nobody really fucks with the stock shit on Pro Tools. I mean,
even though
some
I
people
like
do,
Pro
but
Tools, I don't even recommend it to people. I'm like, that's a waste of your money. Get something else. You know?
you can get more value. You can get the same thing done with a other program that's cheaper and it's better value because you're gonna be able to spend that other money on something else. You can buy a better mic, you can buy some better headphones or whatever, some better
Totally.
speakers, whatever. So
The only thing that I found that Pro Tools excels in for me, that other programs cannot, is just in tracking. Like for some
okay,
reason with Ableton, I know a lot of people have this problem. Ableton just always has latency issues. It seems like nobody's got it dialed into where it's like no latency on Ableton. I don't know. That's
right,
just been my experience.
right.
If someone knows how to get complete zero latency, I'm talking like no milliseconds, because that's what Pro Tools does for me. On my computer, at least, that's the only program where I'm like, there is no latency whatsoever. You feel me? So
Mhm.
that's the only thing.
That's crazy.
But I'm sure there's
Yeah.
ways to but
So one thing I have admired about you is the fact that you guys did that whole speakeasy thing and you had that going on. I remember hearing about it before I actually got to come to one, and just seeing it the first time, like that was the first time I met you and shit. But seeing it and just seeing the energy that was there just reminded me of like a younger generation, maybe like 10 years before that, when the hip hop scene out here, it was more shows, it was more kind of a close knit collective kind of thing. Um,
like a local culture.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How did the idea for that whole thing start?
Um so just being in the Bay Area, even though I was living in Vallejo, I didn't really do a lot of networking or music shit out there because it's kind of like, I don't know if you know, but it's kind of like a ghost city not too long ago. And if they
Oh
didn't
no, no,
open
no,
up
for
like
sure. I know
20
about Vallejo.
cannabis, yeah, they were bankrupt. So if they didn't open up like 20 cannabis clubs, they probably, that's what they had to do. But there ain't a lot of shit
Mm-hmm.
going on in Vallejo, despite all of the talent that's come out of there recently. All of them cats, you know what I mean? Nef
Yeah,
Pharaoh, SOB, and then historically, Dre, you feel me?
40,
Everybody.
yeah.
340,
I mean, so
340, one of my favorite rappers, you know what I mean? But there's not a lot of a big scene there. It's mostly in Oakland, you know what I mean? And there's a big scene in
right,
Oakland. And I spend a lot of time
right.
out there. That's where most of my musical associates in the Bay Area, a lot of my friends live in Oakland, San Leandro, Hayward, whatever. And so I spent a lot of
Mhm.
time out there, but out there they got this really good local scene. It's like I can't go anywhere out there without running into a handful of people I know. Because everybody, even though it's big out there, even though there's a lot of people out there, there's a small underground scene. It's mostly like lo-fi hip hop, and it's really good people, and everybody's connected. Everybody knows
Mhm.
each other. Everybody supports each other. And so I moved to Reno, and I was living out here for like 2 months, and I was like missing that. I was getting homesick. I was like, fuck, man, I miss being able to go out on the weekends, and I don't want to just go and drink and get trashed like everybody in Reno does. Like, I might have a beer,
Yeah,
you feel me? I want to go
yeah,
socialize, you know, meet people, like hear good music, see the local, you feel me? So, and I just
right.
happen to like know a lot of people out here from the past, planted a lot of seeds, maintained a lot of connections with a lot of good people. And so I just seen there's a lot of talent out here, but nobody kind of coming together. So that's all it was. I was just like, let me take a little bit of back home, you know what I mean, and bring it over here and just put my little twist on
Right,
it. And, you know, I was raised
right.
on like really early hip hop, like late 80s hip hop and shit from my dad, you know. My dad was probably one of
Okay.
the first people spinning hip hop in the 80s in the Bay Area in San Jose. Um, and he's like, you know, so I come from like that culture of like breakdancing and popping and like real hip hop. My
Right.
dad used to do graffiti and shit, you know, like I
Five
come from
elements. Yeah.
I want to bring that back too, because I wasn't necessarily seeing a lot of that even in the Bay Area. So I was like, let me like bring this thing and like let's do a beat battle, let's do some like b-boys, let's have like some live artists come out, all the elements. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just, you know, I'm not I didn't know it was gonna get big or nothing. I was just like, I'm just trying to have a space where everybody that is trying to have a good time and network and meet cool people and meet the community could hang out. And a lot of people ended up supporting and coming out. So it was just, it's a lot of love. And I really appreciated that.
It seemed like it grew really organically. Like it just
Yeah.
month by every time, it was just like it
Word
was
of
kind of
mouth.
like going like this the entire time. It seemed like.
It's mostly word of mouth, you know? And like, there's a
Yeah.
password so
Well, yeah.
that
I mean,
not,
you guys weren't. It wasn't like you guys were putting up flyers and shit and like just letting anybody come. You had to like DM y'all for location and all that shit. Like I like the secret society of it almost. I like that. I really did enjoy that shit.
yeah, a lot of, like I said, like, even though there's a lot of people in the Bay Area, a lot of those events, it's like very exclusive. Like, it's like,
Hmm.
you could easily find the password and get in, but you got to know somebody. It's not going to just
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
someone. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like when we're at like a lot of stuff in the Bay Area, like it's like you at a function, you go into a bar and there's like a staircase you got to go to even find where we kicking it, you know, like it's not
Yeah.
like just open to the public. So that's the kind of vibe I was trying to set up, more exclusive, more
Yeah.
secluded. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You definitely accomplished that shit, man. So how do you get? Are there any plan? I mean, who knows when we're ever
I
going to
think
be
he's
able to
gonna
have
ask me.
events again? But are you planning to, whenever that does happen, when we're safe enough to do that? Are you planning to like continue it?
Yeah, it's been nice having a break for me because it
Of
takes a lot
course.
of energy. And I actually
Yeah.
brought on a couple of people, so it's not just me anymore. It's three people now doing the event. Um,
Hmm.
so I need to talk to them, you know, before I make any decisions. We already paid rent. We already rented the space right before COVID happened, and then we had to cancel the show. So I already got like rent paid
Uh,
forward for the next. So we are gonna probably eventually do another show. It might pop up, but I'm just still feeling it out, man. You know what I mean?
definitely.
It wouldn't be smart for me to
Understand.
plan a specific date right now. I just want to feel it out.
No. Yeah, that makes sense. That totally
But
makes sense. But
I
at
do
least
miss
I know that you guys are still. It's something that it can happen again, in if the future permits. You know what I'm saying? Because it was a
totally.
great thing, and I definitely look forward to being a part of that.
Man, I'm glad you made it out.
More.
You came through. You did the beat battle and performed that, and that was dope. Not a lot of people did that. Multifaceted. You know what I mean? That was dope.
That shit was fun, man. That
That
shit
was
was
funny.
definitely fun.
I
That was
was
my
like, yeah,
first.
because you had a different alias. You had two different names, so it was funny. It was funny for me because I
Yeah,
was calling you Jay Walker at first, and I was like, he also goes by Lefty Rose, and then he started rapping. Everyone was like, oh shit. That was funny. They didn't expect that. I like that. Put a twist on it.
Yeah, man. That's what's up, man. Definitely. So, what's next for you, personally?
Well, like I said, man, I've just been working on a lot of stuff. My goal is to drop 20 songs before the end of the year. I'm sitting on like 6 or 7 right now that are just ready to
Okay.
go. And I'm just
That gonna
building.
be
I've
one
got a list of
project, or
songs, just knocking them out. 2 projects. I'm probably gonna drop like a short EP, and it's kind of like a little bit more of a pastime. Some beats I might have made like a year to up to 2 years ago, but more like within the last year. Some features from some of my homies from Cali and stuff. Some stuff that's kind of like a pastime, and then I've got some stuff I've been working on with Enigma Beats that's a little bit more. It's a little bit more true to myself. Not that the other shit isn't, but it's a little bit me really expressing myself, being a lot more opinionated, a lot more it might be a little bit too much for some people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The other shit's a little
No,
more
I get
chill,
it.
like you can just bump it, and you know what I mean. And then this one's gonna have some of my opinions and my views in it, and be a lot more like this is who I am. You know what I mean? And if you don't fuck with it, you don't fuck with it, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Because I'm just keeping it real, and there's a lot of shit to be said
Most
about what's been going on in the world. So
definitely, definitely. I'm definitely glad you're one of the people who want to speak on it. We definitely need more people to talk and put it back in the music, man. I remember growing up, hip hop was revolutionary, man. You had X Clan, you had Public Enemy, you had motherfuckers
they
talking about
shaped me,
shit,
bro.
man. NWA,
Those
like,
guys shaped
I
me,
mean, well,
man.
to an extent. Mhm.
Like
But
honestly, to this
I
day,
think
sometimes I'll listen to some Public Enemy shit, and I hear some stuff Chuck D said. I heard him say it thousands of times, but it still like hits me and brings tears to my eyes a little bit because it's so real. Like, and I just think about at that time, like what he was going through and like what they were like standing up against. I'm like, man, that shit is fucking real. You know what I mean? And like
mhm,
to me, like the realest artists are the ones that are just undeniably themselves. You know what I mean? Whether I
exactly,
agree with it or not, you know what I mean? They ain't just trying to please people. Like they just are who they are. You know what I mean?
exactly,
And I
exactly.
feel like through time, they've tried to wash down music and make it less of a platform for people to speak like that because they realize how much power it is. It's one of the most powerful. I mean, the arts are the most powerful platforms for people to express themselves. Actually, I had a
Exactly. Exactly.
my homie Orlando. Shout out to my homie Orlando. Brought up a really interesting point because he's a rapper too, and he recently started rapping. He's real dope. But I've always known him as a visual artist. He's a very talented visual artist and a tattoo artist. And I was
Mhm.
telling him about the music. I was like, yeah, man, they washed it down, kind of like I was telling you. And he said, well, that's the same thing they do with like expensive art. He's like, why do you think abstract art is all like that? All like just abstract as hell. He said because they realize like they don't want the art to have that platform like the elite. You feel me? Like because they
Mhm.
know that artists are just gonna by nature, most artists are gonna have like revolutionary messages in their art. Like that's where the inspiration comes from, is that emotion or that
Mhm.
pain that's felt from the struggle. You feel me? So a lot of the greatest artists
Exactly.
like to express that through their art. But what he was suggesting is that they did the same thing with art, trying to just make it all abstract and meaningless to the elite for this expensive art, so that they're not, you feel me, having that platform.
Yeah.
Same thing with the music. I thought that was a really interesting perspective he had.
Yeah, man. I mean, shit, the shit makes sense. It's what
Yeah.
they've been doing. I've seen this thing talking about right around the time, Public Enemy, like NWA, and when people were making statements was when there was like this supposed like secret meeting where they talked about we got to push more gangster rap, more negative shit. You know what I'm saying? This is like the early
Mhm.
90s. So that's why
Okay.
everything went super gangster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we saw what happened from that. But now I don't think it's more necessarily, it's not gangster shit now. It's just more just anything ignorant. Any ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Anything ignorant you can push, keep these folks from talking about real shit, the better.
Kind of tying the beginning of our conversation to it too. I don't know if you've seen the video that George Floyd himself had posted on social media. It kind of circulated around a little bit.
I
But
think
it was a
so. It
short
was him
video. It was
talking.
like maybe a minute long, and he was talking about like his homegirl had called him and talked about how her son had got shot, and he was pretty young. I don't remember the details, but he was just basically, his message was like, man, why are all these kids running around with guns nowadays like it's the thing to do? Just shoot trigger happy, you know, innocent kids and other people getting shot and harmed in the standing in the way. And he's like, and he's saying it's clearly the generation after us, you know, like they're not abiding by this code of like respect, or like they're just being reckless. And he recognized that, and he was trying to make a point to put it out there. And he's like, man, I know these kids 18 years old out here flexing with their guns, but they go home with their knees shaking at the end of the day. You know, they just out here being hard, but they don't really want to do that. You feel me? No one does.
Exactly.
You feel me? And that's a
Yeah,
message that he wanted to get across. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the truth. Like the culture is a little bit different now. Like these kids are just reckless. They think it's cool to just run around and just shoot people. Like they don't even have, they ain't even ready to throw fists. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
They just feel tough with a gun.
Exactly.
And it's like, man, that wasn't how it used to be.
Very
So
true. Very true.
And
Well,
the big
man.
point he was making too is he said, I knew it was a problem when I seen someone my age condoning that shit. He was like, yeah, this
Right.
little dude, the truth, because he know how to shoot a gun. I'm like, man, yeah, you're right. Like we can't be condoning that shit either. So
Nah,
I don't know.
nah.
I feel like that's an important message to be heard.
Definitely. Definitely. I'm glad you said that. But you know, I'm gonna we can go ahead and kind of get to wrapping it up now, because I figure we filled a good amount of time.
Cool.
And I covered all my questions, which I love doing, getting all the questions
Sure.
off. So man, I want to thank you for your time, bro, and your insight on everything, man.
Yeah, thanks
You're a
for having
super
me,
dope
man.
person, and I can't wait until we can actually work on some music together, man, because I've always
Likewise.
thought we were like-minded. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
was like, yeah,
Man,
I
I
can't
really
wait
fuck
to
with
get
your
back
shit, man.
up here so I
I
can
actually
fuck with
bump your CDs in my car sometimes still. I fuck with it, man. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting in the lab with you and seeing how we can put our minds together and come up with something dope.
you. Definitely, man. Definitely. Well, man, I want you to take care of yourself out there, man. Be safe. I know you out there in the streets
Yeah, me
working
too.
now, so be safe. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
And shit, man. We will get together very soon, bro.
Yes, sir.
All
For
right,
sure. Well,
man.
have a beautiful day, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, you too. Thank you for your
All right.
time, bro. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right. I would like to thank my brother Niles Quinn for giving me time today and speaking. He had a very, very good perspective on a lot of things, man. It's a young dude, and I like to see the younger generation knowing what the fuck is up and speaking out and trying to be about it, because they're the ones that are gonna have to push this shit, man. We can only do so much. They're gonna be here, so they gotta push it. They gotta be the leaders. So um, I want to thank you guys for paying attention and watching today. Tomorrow I will be back at 6 p.m. with my brother from Beirut Productions, Sterling Doak. Um, he is a dope producer, and he also works for the Gibson Guitar Company in Tennessee. So he's gonna have a perspective that I don't know, because you know Tennessee is somewhere I've only been once to the airport, so I don't really know. And just to find out what he's going through out there would be interesting. So tune in tomorrow at 6, man. So until then, be safe, be aware. I'll see y'all. Peace.